Trump just rocked the global market. 69 countries hit. Fentanyl, China, and global fallout. Markets are in shock. President Trump has just thrown a geopolitical grenade into the global economy, unleashing sweeping new tariffs on 69 countries. This isn't just economic policy, it's warfare, with fentanyl, rare earths, and global power at the center of the battlefield. This is wealth signal. On the eve of a critical trade deadline, President Trump signed an executive order imposing new U.S. import duties ranging from 10 to a staggering 41%. These tariffs are aimed at major trading partners, including Canada, Brazil, India, Switzerland, Taiwan, and more. Canada has been hit especially hard, with tariffs on many goods rising from 25% to 35%. One of the most severe penalties. Brazil will face a 50% tariff. India, Taiwan, and Switzerland have all been targeted with tariffs ranging between 20 and 39%. These moves aren't random. They're part of a much broader strategy that ties into three critical global flashpoints: the fentanyl crisis, China's dominance over rare earth minerals, and disputes over agricultural and energy access. Let's break that down. First, the fentanyl crisis. The US government has pointed fingers at several countries, particularly China and India, for not doing enough to stop the flow of fentanyl and its precursors into the United States. Trump's administration has tied these new tariffs directly to what it calls a lack of cooperation in addressing the epidemic. Second, rare earth minerals. These are essential to advanced electronics, defense systems, electric vehicles, and clean energy technologies. China controls over 80% of global production. If access is cut or restricted, the consequences for Western economies could be severe. The Trump administration has made it clear China has until August 2nd to finalize a long-term tariff deal, or it could face additional penalties aimed at rare earth exports. Third, India. Negotiations with New Delhi broke down recently over U.S. demands for increased agricultural access. Tensions were further aggravated by India's ongoing energy ties to Russia. As a result, India is now facing some of the harshest trade penalties in over a decade. Despite the sweeping nature of this policy, not every country was hit equally. Mexico secured a 90-day reprieve from a planned 30% tariff after President Trump held a direct call with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. According to statements from both leaders, the conversation was constructive and tariffs have been postponed, at least for now. South Korea, meanwhile, accepted a 15% tariff on its exports and in return pledged a massive $350 billion in US-bound investments. This deal is being interpreted as a model for what the Trump administration is seeking: economic alignment, investment promises, and compliance with broader US strategic goals. But there are serious questions about the legality of all this. To justify these sweeping trade actions, Trump cited the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act, declaring a national emergency based on the U.S. trade deficit and the fentanyl crisis. This enabled the administration to impose what it calls reciprocal tariffs against nations it claims are undermining American economic and security interests. However, back in May, the Court of International Trade ruled that these measures likely exceeded the president's executive powers. During recent hearings at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit in Washington, judges expressed continued skepticism about the legality of the emergency declaration and the tariffs themselves. This legal uncertainty adds another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. The economic fallout is already beginning to show. According to new data released by the U.S. Commerce Department, consumer prices are climbing across several categories, most notably furniture, electronics, and apparel. Supply chain experts warn that additional tariffs could drive up costs for thousands of everyday products. At the same time, some major companies have reported in their earnings calls that they have not yet passed tariff-related costs onto consumers. This may offer a temporary buffer, but analysts suggest that price hikes are inevitable if trade tensions persist. Diplomatically, these moves risk straining relationships with long-standing allies. European nations, particularly Switzerland and Germany, have criticized what they describe as unilateral tariff escalation. There's concern in Brussels and Geneva that the US is setting a precedent for politicizing trade at the expense of stability. And then there's China. The clock is ticking on a finalized deal. Preliminary agreements made in May and June laid the groundwork for a long-term solution, but progress has stalled. If China does not meet the August 2nd deadline, the US may retaliate by halting key exports or even taking steps to restrict access to US semiconductor technology. This moment could reshape the global order. Whether these tariffs succeed in forcing compliance, realignment, or capitulation remains to be seen. But make no mistake, this is not just about trade. It's about leverage, it's about fentanyl, it's about rare earths, it's about oil, and above all, it's about who gets to call the shots in the world economy. As we move closer to the US election cycle, expect these battles to intensify. This is Wealth Signal. Subscribe for in-depth reporting on global markets, economic warfare, and the signals shaping your financial future.